And we are live. Hello, one and all, and welcome to my morning after review for last night's WWE Hell in a Cell 2016 pay-per-view event, which emanated live from TD Gardens in Boston, Massachusetts. I'm going to give you my full overall thoughts and opinions, break down the entire Hell in a Cell 2016 card from top to bottom. Wanted to wait, a day after to really allow my thoughts to, come to fruition and, just come up here and give you the best review possible that I can for last night's pay-per-view. Now that I've had time to literally sleep and think over, what transpired last night. And looking back on the show, there were a number of good things on the show, and then there were some things that left me kind of going, meh, that was just all right. But overall, I'd have to say, for the most part, it was an enjoyable show. It was definitely a better show than Clash of Champions was the month before for the Raw brand. So there were a number of standout matches, two really good matches on this show, and you probably have an idea of what matches those are. And some other good matches on the undercard, a couple disappointments here and there. But yeah, overall, I'd have to say it was definitely a step up from Clash of Champions, which was really just a letdown of a show. I mean, so props to the Raw brand on that. Hopefully, I don't know. We'll have to see what they do tonight, but I'm worried it's the Halloween edition of Raw, and you already know how I feel about that. So, but focusing on Hell in a Cell tonight, let's just get into the action, folks. We first kicked things off with a six-man tag team match on the pre-show, which was Cedric Alexander, Cara, Lince, Dorado versus Tony Nese, Drew Gulak, and Ariya Daivari. From what I caught, I only caught the tail end of this match. Seemed like a good, solid six-man tag featuring the Cruiserweights. They got ample, a decent amount of time to shine here on the pre-show. And as I, correctly predicted, Alexander, Dorado, and Sin Cara were the ones to walk out with the victor after. It was nice to see Cedric Alexander. I'm really becoming a fan of, both on NXT and in the Cruiserweight division. He was able to connect with the lumbar check to pick up the victory, so nice win for him. And yeah, so that was our one pre-show match. We then kick off the main show of the card, which we had a total of 7 matches for. We had our first match, which was Roman Reigns defending his United States Championship against Rusev inside a Hell in a Cell match. Now, what they did inside of the cell, it was okay. But to me, it was really like when I was watching this match, I was just like, okay. They're utilizing steel steps. They're utilizing kendo sticks. They're utilizing, everything except for one crucial element. That was the cell itself. Now, later on in the other 2 cell matches, we would actually see in Owens and Rollins and Charlotte and Sasha, the cell would come into utilization. But for some reason in this match, to me, it seemed like they were hardly utilizing the cell at all and more so focused on using the weapons. So to me, I was like, if you're just going to pretty much ignore the cell itself and just use weapons, why not just do a Falls Count Anywhere match? Why not just do a no-holds-barred match or a street fight? To me, any one of those stipulations would have made more sense than, having it inside of a cell. I think, just seeing the way that this match was presented and booked, to me, it didn't have to take place inside of a cell due to the fact that they hardly utilized the damn thing. So if you're not going to use the cell, does it really make sense to have a Hell in a Cell match? To me, no, it doesn't. It was interesting. During this match, we got Rusev, let's go Rusev, Rusev sucks chance, and Reigns, of course, got a decent amount of boos, so interesting reactions right there. But yeah, like I said, I mean, the one thing I did like, and it kind of, left me baffled, was towards the end, I like the fact that Rusev locked in Reigns with the accolade, nonetheless with a steel freaking chain. So logically, realistically, if somebody has a chain wrapped around your face with the accolade, that should have really been it. I mean, there should have been no way that Reigns could have gotten out of that. I mean, he could have, passed out or whatever they, should have ended up doing. But no, of course, Reigns gets out of that. He hits a Samoan drop, and he sends Rusev into the steel ring steps, and he hits the spear to pick up the victory. So like I said, out of the 3 Hell in a Cell matches that we got on this show, to me, this was just decent to okay at best. It started off slow, and then it kind of picked up towards the end. Like I said, I really like the image of Rusev locking the chain around Reigns, and to me, that should have probably been, the way that the finish should have went. But I didn't see Reigns dropping the United States Championship so soon after winning it. So, of course, Reigns is victorious. We then move on to our second match of the evening. It was Bayley versus Dana Brooke. Poor Bayley. Poor Bayley. When I found out they were doing this rematch, I was like, okay, maybe we're going to finally get Emma returning to TV. To me, that would have been the only way doing this match. I mean, I believe this is like the 3rd or 4th time these two have fought. And to me, I don't know, it's just their chemistry just doesn't work. To me, Dana, she's not really well polished. There were a couple, I don't know, she just looks sloppy. And to me, she really would benefit from going back down to NXT, spending a couple more months in developmental, really refining herself as, as a promo and as a wrestler in the ring. To me, I mean, she's just not ready. But I feel she can be if you give her the ample amount of time to develop as, an overall performer. But just in this match, I mean, Bayley clearly had to, slow herself down to work with Dana. She just didn't, display the same, type of finesse in the ring that you would come to expect from Bayley, and that's no fault on her own. So, I mean, she got the victory, but the match was nothing special, and I just want to see better booking for Bayley going forward. Bayley could be one of your top female stars, one of your top stars in the company. I mean, she just has that lovable, likable appeal. She's just somebody you want to hang out with and be best friends with, and you love her. You just love Bayley. What worked on NXT can work again on the main roster. Just don't screw up Bayley. I mean, she already got booed in an arm wrestling contest segment, which was atrocious on Raw. That should have never happened. So going forward, what I think would be best is looking at the lack of depth in the Raw women's division. And guys, let me know down in the comment section below. Emma would possibly, I'd like to see Emma return and start an Emma and Bayley feud. I feel like that would be the best thing for both women. It would move Dana Brooke away, move her to the side. I mean, you could have her and Emma reunite as a pair. I actually like them as a 1-2 pair. And, possibly have Nia Jax take on Sasha Banks. Wait, sorry. Okay. We'll get into what happened at the end of the pay-per-view, because that also left me scratching my head. But yeah, Bayley won, and I just want to see better booking for Bayley going forward. Please, WWE, because Bayley is truly a special talent and somebody that you should not give poor booking to. We then had a backstage segment between Mick Foley and Stephanie McMahon. They talked on and on about how they'll be going head-to-head with SmackDown Live next month, the Survivor Series. The Ayatollah of Rock and Roll, baby, Chris Jericho showed up, and he said he should be the one, him and his best friend Kevin Owens, to be the first two teammates announced for Team Raw. Stephanie said she would choose wisely, and eventually Owens interrupted and said, well, Mick Foley, you're kind of pissing me off here. And, Foley said, well, you should just make sure your friend makes it out of Hell in a Cell tonight. And Jericho said he would put Foley on the list. And what did he do? Foley, you just made the list. So I love Jericho. I love the list of Jericho, the gift of Jericho. Drink it in me. I love everything that Chris Jericho is doing right now. He is really, to me, one of the only reasons to watch Raw going forward. And he's just pure entertainment. Every time he pops up, it's like, oh, man, I can't wait to see what Jericho is going to say and do. So, and we would later on see in the night what Jericho would end up doing in the Hell in a Cell match against Seth Rollins and Kevin Owens. We had our third match of the evening, which was a solid, nice, enjoyable tag team match between Enzo and Big Cass versus Anderson and Gallows. Not bad work here. Enzo would eventually be able to work his way up and build towards the hot tag. Big Cass would get in there and, work on Luke Gallows. And eventually, Big Cass was able to hit the running boot to Gallows. He hip tossed Karl Anderson. And towards the end of the match, Big Cass hit the East River crossing, but Gallows sent Big Cass crashing down to the outside. Enzo attempted to hit the flying crossbody. Anderson would roll out of the ring. Gallows dropped into the ring, hit the thrust kick, and Anderson and Gallows on Enzo Amore hit the Magic Killer, and they picked up a long overdue victory. So, correctly predicted this one in my Hell in a Cell predictions video. The club needed the win here. Anderson and Gallows needed the win. I love Enzo and Cass. They're insanely over with the crowd. So to me, they'll be fine. They can take a loss here, seeing as how, they did beat the club at Battleground, and the club lost at SummerSlam. The club, you see the pattern here? The club lost at Clash of Champions and the night after on Raw. So to me, especially if you had Enzo and Big Cass pin Karl Anderson in the last 2 weeks in singles matches, if you're going to do all that, why would you just have the club lose? And thankfully they didn't. Anderson and Gallows won. So that's good. This is actually the way I would have booked this. Now, going forward, these two teams will be in the Raw Tag Team Elimination match versus Team SmackDown. Going forward, what I would like to see is for the club to be the winning team for Team Raw. That helps, give them further momentum and helps to reestablish them after their terrible booking coming out of SummerSlam and Clash of Champions. So if you have them be the winning team on Raw, for Team Raw, boom, there's another win. Then you have them gain further momentum, challenge the New Day at Roadblock, boom. And then at Roadblock, that'll be after New Day breaks the long tag team title record, which I assume they're going to do because they'll be on Team Raw, the New Day will, for the tag team match, so they won't defend their titles. So at Roadblock, you can finally get the titles off the New Day and put them where they should have been on Anderson and Gallows, have them beat the New Day, end the record, and boom, there you go. And then further long-term booking, you could build up to another match against Anderson and Gallows versus Enzo and Cass. And then what I would do is at WrestleMania, have Enzo and Cass finally win the WWE Raw Tag Team Championships. Boom. There's your long-term booking from now, hell, even all the way to WrestleMania. So will WWE do that? I don't know. We'll have to see. But just continue to book Anderson and Gallows. This ain't hard to do. As dominant, ass-kicking badasses. Do not have them do Old Day and god-awful, testicle comedy and crap that really wasn't funny. Yet Vince was probably back there, this is so funny. I love toilet humor. No. It's simple. Make them look dominant and imposing. Good? Got it. Let's move on. So, yeah, like I said, solid, nice little tag team match. Our fourth match of the evening was Kevin Owens versus Seth freaking Rollins inside Hell in a Cell for the WWE Universal Championship. And to me, personally, this was my match of the night. This was an outstanding contest. This vastly blew out of the water their match at Clash of Champions, which I just don't know. It was a timing thing. To me, that match, I was really looking forward to it, and to me, it just under-delivered. It was just an okay to average match. But this match, Kevin Owens and Seth Rollins, they really took it to each other inside the cell. I love the way that Owens continuously targeted the back of Seth Rollins. Bravo, kudos, thank you for some psychology used by Kevin Owens. It made sense. You attack the injured part of Seth Rollins' back where he had that medical tape on there. And from there, Kevin Owens would just viciously beat down Seth Rollins. And eventually, towards the latter middle part of this match, I like the fact that Owens hit a cannonball onto Rollins, who was laid up against the cell. So that looked pretty good. There was also a nice 2 suicide dives that Rollins connected and hit on Kevin Owens as Owens was laid outside the ring. And then eventually Chris Jericho, Owens would have a fire extinguisher. He would blow the, whatever you call it, the thing that comes out of the fire extinguisher into the eyes of the referee. And then this would lead to the cell door opening. And then Chris Jericho would use this as an opportunity to get inside, lock himself inside the cell. And then Rollins had to fend off both Kevin Owens and Chris Jericho. So we're essentially getting a 2-on-1 beatdown of Seth Rollins. Rollins was able to hit the pedigree on Chris Jericho, and then Owens hit a nice thrust kick into Rollins' head. Like I said, there were two, before this, there were two tables, one positioned down below and the other like slanted on top of it on the outside. And Rollins was able to hit the very, very nice looking, he picked Owens up and power bombed him through the two tables. So that was a really sick spot. And I love the way that Owens sold it. Man. A deadlift powerbomb, get that correct. And Rollins eventually connected for a frog splash on Chris Jericho. Like I said, there was just really nice sequence. I love the psychology used in this match. It made sense for Jericho to get involved, and that further added to the match. Eventually, Jericho would he would have two steel chairs positioned in the ring, and that's where Owens would hit the power bomb on the two steel chairs. Like I said, once again, targeting the back of Seth Rollins, and that would be the end. Kevin Owens would retain his Universal Championship. Like I said, to me, this was a really outstanding Hell in a Cell match to me. My match of the night, personally. And afterwards, Owens hit a DDT. Actually, Chris Jericho dropped Seth Rollins with the code breakers. So the team of Jericho, there's a reason Chris Jericho is Kevin Owens' best friend, and he helps Owens successfully retain his Universal Championship. So I do look forward to seeing Jericho and Owens brag about how they handed it to Seth Rollins inside Hell in a Cell. So that should be something good on Raw tonight. We then had our fifth match of the evening. It was TJ Perkins defending his Cruiserweight Championship versus the Brian Kendrick. Going into this pay-per-view, I was really looking forward to this match. But to me, I think it was just the placement of this match. It was directly after the Hell in a Cell match. To me, the crowd seemed a little spent. And to me, they just didn't seem at all too much into this match. I thought, for what they were doing in the ring, it wasn't bad. It was actually fairly enjoyable. I like both Kendrick and TJ Perkins. And, was it a little slow at times? Sure. But I just think the match itself suffered from where it was placed. The crowd, like I said, they just weren't into it. And it didn't seem like they were going to get invested into it. So that hurt the match somewhat, a dead crowd. But the one thing that was interesting was towards the end, it looked like as Kendrick was going for sliced bread for the second time, Perkins blocked it. And it looked like when Kendrick came down, he might have hurt his knee. I thought, well, maybe he actually is hurt. But no, it was to sucker TJ Perkins in. Perkins walked over. Kendrick locked in the captain's hook for the second time. And he made TJ Perkins tap out. So we have a new Cruiserweight champion, the Brian Kendrick. I was kind of surprised to see that. I thought for sure Perkins would retain. But, hey, I'm all for, seeing what Kendrick does with the Cruiserweight Championship. Like I said, I like TJ Perkins, but just the way that him and the whole Cruiserweight division has been booked, it's just been kind of lackluster, not his fault. That's just what he's out there to do. So maybe things can get a little interesting, hopefully provide a spark. Like I said, I've always been a fan of the Brian Kendrick ever since, I've seen him back in 2008, 09, before he was fired from WWE. So congrats to him on winning the Cruiserweight Championship, and we'll have to see where they go headed forward with him. So, yeah. We then had our sixth match of the evening. It was the New Day defending their WWE Raw Tag Team Championships against Cesaro and Sheamus. Like I said, once again, not a bad match here. It was a solid tag team affair. The thing to me that hurt this was the fact that 6 days earlier, we saw the match on Raw. I mean, yeah, Kofi was in there and Xavier was in the match tonight. It was Xavier and Big E going at it against Cesaro and Sheamus. But, to me, it just made the match feel less special. I mean, you already saw something similar to it on Monday, so why are you going to be that as invested as you would have been, if you would have held off on doing that tag team match? But I thought it was a solid tag team match that picked up slowly towards the end. The thing that was, hurt the match was the finish. Cesaro and Sheamus won, but it was as a result of disqualification. It happened as Cesaro had Woods locked in to the sharpshooter. Sheamus hit Big E in the back with Francesca too. Kofi dropped Sheamus with the Trouble to Paradise in front of the ref, and that's what led to the disqualification. So, like I called it, I didn't see Cesaro and Sheamus walking out with the Raw Tag Team titles. I just didn't. I see New Day holding the titles and breaking Demolition's record. What is it, 478 days or something like that? They're really close. They won't be dropping the titles till the Roadblock pay-per-view, which I'll be at, because that'll be in Pittsburgh, so I look forward to going to that. But, yeah. So, to me, it's like, okay, Cesaro and Sheamus, what are you going to do with them going forward? Are they still going to be a tag team? I'd rather see Cesaro on a brand where he'd be taken seriously. He could potentially rise up the ranks to main event status. I'd love to see him on SmackDown. So, hopefully, the rumors of 3 superstars being traded to the winning brand at Survivor Series are true. I'd love to see Cesaro on SmackDown, because if they're not going to have it run with the tag titles, what was the point of the best of 7 series? Why make us sit through all those matches if they're just going to challenge and lose to New Day for the tag titles? It's just like, okay. And to me, I like the New Day, don't get me wrong, but I just feel like it's time for them to lose the titles. Hell, I felt like at SummerSlam it was time for them to lose the titles. To me, they've really done everything that they can as tag team champions. It's just getting stale at this point. And I'd like to see another team, whether Enzo and Cass or Anderson and Gallows, hold the tag team titles. So I don't know what they do going forward. Like I said, I don't see New Day defending their titles at Survivor Series. I think the next time we'll see that happen is at Roadblock, where I think finally they will drop the titles. But we will have to wait and see. And then we had our 7th and final match. The main event of the evening went to, for the first time ever, the women. And Sasha Banks defended her women's championship against Charlotte inside, for the first time ever, Hell in a Cell. I thought this was, for the most part, despite the beginning and the ending, a really good match. Yes, there were a couple botches here and there with the table not breaking. Maybe that's due to the fact that of the weight of these women. You know, the table wasn't going to budge. But the way the match kicked off was the fact that the cell was beginning to lower around Sasha and Charlotte. And right off the bat, Charlotte began to just viciously punch Sasha in the face. They began to brawl to the outside. The cell was stopped. Eventually, they made their way to the outside, to the announcer's table. And Charlotte was able to hit a sick-looking powerbomb on Sasha through the announcer's table. They really sold up the fact that Sasha might have, legitimately injured her back. They eventually brought paramedics out, began to cart her away. But in lieu to Mankind, a la King of the Ring 98, Sasha gets back up. She goes in the cell, and eventually her and Charlotte begin to battle inside of Hell in a Cell. And there was a nice suicide dive that Sasha connected that sent Charlotte back first into the cell itself. And eventually Sasha got a steel chair in there. She hit the double knees on the chair, double knee stomp onto Charlotte. So she landed back first onto the steel chair. Eventually Sasha hit a frog splash, but Charlotte countered with the big boot right there. And eventually Charlotte would set up the table on the outside of the apron, and Sasha kicked Charlotte onto the table, and I think they intended for the table to break, but the table did not break, so that was a little bit of a botch there. Eventually, Sasha would get another table in the ring, and Charlotte set up that table eventually in the corner, off to the corner, and Charlotte hit a series of backbreakers onto Sasha. Sasha was locked into the figure 4 leg lock, but Sasha got a chair and used that to escape from the figure 4, hitting Charlotte several times. And Sasha she attempted to go for a running power bomb, but her back gave out, and that's when Charlotte launched Sasha a number of times into the table. The table, despite the number of times that Sasha was thrown into it, did not break, and Charlotte hit natural selection. And to me, the finish just kind of was like, wow, okay. Maybe if that table would have broken, the finish would have looked a bit more impactful. The fact that the table didn't break and then Charlotte hit natural selection to beat Sasha, I thought for sure, she just won the women's title on Raw, 2 weeks ago? And now Charlotte 3 weeks ago, okay. And Charlotte already wins the women's title back, in Sasha's hometown. Maybe they did it to keep Charlotte's undefeated pay-per-view streak. I believe it's up to 12 or 13 alive, so we had that going into it. But I was just really baffled and surprised to see that Sasha Banks dropped the women's title just so soon after only holding the title for 3 weeks. So I don't really know how to feel about that going forward or what they do. Obviously, Hell in a Cell is supposed to be the culmination, the blow-off of this feud. So I don't see them having another rematch. So what does that mean for Charlotte? What does that mean for Sasha? And everyone going forward, I guess we'll have to see. But yeah, really surprised. I thought for sure that Sasha Banks was going to retain her women's title. Like I said, that finish to me, I didn't like it. It just, maybe if the table would have broken, I would have liked it. But yeah, I really enjoyed the match, despite some botches here and there. I was happy for both Sasha and Charlotte getting the opportunity to main event a pay-per-view, first time for the women in WWE. So kudos and props to them. So thinking about it and looking for a grade to give to last night's Hell in a Cell pay-per-view, if I had to give last night's show a grade, I would probably give it a B-, close to a C+, but I'm going with a B-. Like I said, enjoyed the 2 Hell in a Cell matches, enjoyed the tag team matches for the most part, and yeah, like I said, definitely an improvement from Clash of Champions, which I thought was very much so lackluster. So we'll have to see. Now we're officially on the road to Survivor Series, what the teammates are going to be for both teams, Raw and SmackDown, going forward. So I'd like to hope we get a good episode of Raw tonight, but don't hold your breath on it because we have the Halloween edition. Although I probably will watch just for Goldberg, just to see what they do with him as they build towards Goldberg and Brock Lesnar. So that is it, guys, for my Hell in a Cell review. Let me know down in the comment section below what you thought of Hell in a Cell. What matches did you like and what didn't you like? And I might be back up here later on. Not sure yet for my live Raw review. We'll have to see. So yeah, that is it for my thoughts on Hell in a Cell. Remember to please click my like and subscribe button for more video content coming soon to this channel. And be on the lookout for me in my next video. So until then, guys, thanks for watching and take care. And happy Halloween.